Hey everybody, my name is Matt and I'm a software engineer, content creator, and somebody who is obsessed with business. And today I wanted to talk about the acquisition of TBPN by OpenAI. Now, if you don't know what TBPN is, it's essentially the ESPN for Silicon Valley. And why is that important? Well, it's because ESPN is a news network that essentially covers sports, right? It just, whenever there's a sports game going on, there will always be content or something going on so that ESPN can capture attention from people who watch sports, right? And a lot of people watch sports. In America, I would say, let's say about like 50% of people watch sports. 50% of those people are probably going to go to ESPN in order to get their news, learn what's going on in sports, and obviously ESPN has become very successful because of that. Now, what TBPN does is they do something very similar. It's 3 hours every single day, and they just cover basically all the news that's going on in Silicon Valley. And they bring on founders, people who are well known in Silicon Valley. They bring on people who are raising rounds, doing really cool stuff. And they just get their opinions on things that are working on, the way that the future is going to move. And they do it every single day for 3 hours on a live stream. And I don't think there's anything that's harmful about the content they create or anything that's bad. Just it's news, right? And so when there's not really that much going on in the news, there's really not that much going on for TBPN. And you can kind of observe that from the numbers that they produce because a lot of people, and you can see this on Hacker News and on Twitter and things like that, have noticed that although TBPN has been acquired by OpenAI for some millions and whatever, hundreds of millions of dollars, we don't really know the exact number, they really aren't pulling in the amount of views that you would expect something that's getting, $100 million worth of money thrown at it. And that essentially, isn't the thing I'm trying to call out here. I'm not even trying to call out anything. I'm just trying to understand why would OpenAI essentially buy TBPN? And I'm not really buying it with Sam Altman saying oh yeah, this is definitely my favorite news network and I watch it all the time. And I don't think that, it can be that simple. And I'm not trying to be conspiratorial or anything like that, but I want to talk, today kind of about attention and how in a race to get people to use your AI product or AI tool, there are certain decisions that you can make in order for certain things to happen, right? What does owning a media network, what does owning a news network do for a company like OpenAI? Well, it just controls the narrative in a certain way, right? And this is obvious, right? If you have somebody who essentially owns the things that you create, like TBPN, now anything that they do will be related to OpenAI in some way, okay? OpenAI logo over here. So OpenAI, whatever they do will directly reflect on TBPN, and whatever TBPN covers or talks about or anything like that will forever be recognized as something that OpenAI essentially is supporting or paying for. And I don't think that, that is kind of lost on the TBPN people, but I also think the reason why they have accepted this deal in which OpenAI has, bought them out essentially is because running a media business is very difficult. And you don't even have to take that from me. You can take it from people who already have done this before, who are at the top of the software engineering media pipeline, something that I'm definitely not at. So these three guys, Theo, Ben, and Jaden, they all recognize that, hey, the reason why that they essentially made this decision, TBPN, was because it was just such a good deal, right? You have this huge number being thrown at you where you can basically keep doing what you're doing as a company, but now you don't have to worry about the operations side of it at all, essentially. And that means that, you don't have to think about, okay, what sponsor am I going to have to get in order for some video to make me a certain amount of money, right? And remember those 3 hours that they stream every day, if they don't have ad slots for every single one of those videos or every single one of those hours, they're essentially losing money because TBPN is not just a one-person team. TBPN is I don't know how many, maybe let's say 10 or 15-person team where they got a bunch of people in the background, making sure everything's produced well, creating the content and the videos afterwards. It is not easy for them to consistently put out content that is valuable because, again, it is a news network. The news only happens when there is something to announce, something to talk about, something for people to latch onto. But why is this so valuable then? Why is a company purchasing something like TBPN, and why isn't something like biggest software engineering YouTube channel, Primagen, why are they looking to acquire things like this, but not this, right? Well, it's because memes. I just want to talk about the idea of owning memes, right? So memification of something is essentially when a group of people take an idea and make it into something that everybody understands and has perspective on or relates to in some sort of funny way, right? The word meme is actually way more important than you think it is in terms of owning ideas and attention. A meme is essentially a way of capturing somebody's attention through comedy, through humor, through relatability. And I'll give you examples of this, right? So we have companies like Wendy's, we have companies like Burger King, we have companies like, I'm going to just label a bunch of fast food ones, but they all have their own Twitter accounts, right? And on these Twitter accounts, they're replying and making stupid comments, bickering, going back and forth with each other on certain topics, whatever. And, as somebody who observes and see these things, you might say to yourself, like, damn, Wendy's is so sassy, right? Or damn, Burger King really got, I don't know what Burger King's got, right? Burger King got that dog in him. And now while you may think that, like, okay, this isn't that crazy. Like, why am I making this point? Well, it's because this mind space over here that is being taken by companies when they are infiltrating social media is actually way more valuable than you think. And AI companies currently do not have this entry point into culture that these companies like Wendy's, Burger King, and whatever like fast food or other company essentially has access to. It's because I don't think you can really memify AI, right? Because AI doesn't really belong in the culture because it essentially steals from culture and reformats it into something that can be mass generated and reproduced consistently and constantly at a scale unknown to most human beings, right? So now I actually want to give you a hard example. Recently, I don't know if you've seen this video of Sam Altman reacting to the ChatGPT voice model not being able to actually use a timer, right?
I'm gonna run a mile and you just time me how long it takes, okay? When I say go.
You got it. I'll be ready. Just say go when you start and I'll keep track.
Okay, ready, go.
All right, I'll start a time. Just focus on your run. I'll be here when you get
Okay,
back.
I'm back.
Welcome back. I've got your time right here. How do you feel about that?
How long was it? What?
You clocked in at around 10 minutes
10
and 12.
I swear I was faster than that.
Sometimes it feels faster in the moment.
If it's gonna save humanity, it's gotta get it right, Sam.
Maybe,
Do you need to show that to your product guys?
no, that's a known issue. Maybe another year.
Another
Something
year?
like that works well.
What's that known issue?
That model doesn't have, that voice model doesn't have tools to like start a timer or anything like that.
So this is already in motion. There are videos of Sam Altman reacting to memes. There are more videos of him being on podcasts. And there's just been a general push on social media, at least from what I've seen, to have these AI CEOs, whoever is involved in the tech space, to like have more of an insertion into just media in general. And so as long as, these people are essentially inserted into media where they're not talking about how they're doing some sort of shady deal or something that isn't that good for the government or the people, people won't really care. People will more care about, hey, this guy just reacted to a funny on the YouTube and that is awesome. If you didn't know, social media can actually be purchased and it can be controlled in a way to make people think of a company a certain way. And this has been the case and will always be the case due to things like botting, UGC. It's essentially and the way of influencing mass culture and mass society has already been a solved issue. So, because if you really think about it, if OpenAI spends about, 200 million on purchasing TBPN, and the chances of you as a user or you as an enterprise using an OpenAI model, let's just say that's OpenAI model, even though that looks more like Anthropic, by 1%, that is more valuable than the $200 million, because you using a model automatically locks you into having all your information taken And like it's a pretty bad deal, right? Because if you look at the way in which OpenAI scrapes and uses the data from its users, or any of these major labs takes the user's information that they're processing, a user who is using a platform, any sort of platform, is somebody that can be harvested. And if they're being harvested, then they can be used to produce better content or better models in the future. And hopefully you can understand this. You can understand that OpenAI wants you to think of them in meme culture. It wants you to think of them as a pal, somebody that you can generate videos with, like with Sora, like you can trust enough to do your taxes. You know what I mean? Like, you can trust your pals over at OpenAI. They're here to support you, right? They're with the cool guys, the TBPN guys, the guys who are on the news. It doesn't make any sense for OpenAI to acquire something like TBPN, in my opinion, right? I don't really understand what TBPN provides other than access to culture. And yeah, I just wanted to share my thoughts about the topic. I also don't think that, the TBPN guys are doing anything wrong. Just see them in my Twitter feed so often. And I don't really think they're that technical or provide anything other than news, but that's not a bad thing. People need to be informed. And I'm glad that they do it. So keep it up. Hope you enjoyed the video. And I hope you think a little bit about why companies like OpenAI are purchasing media. You're going to see a lot more media being purchased, a lot more people rather than big company acquisitions happening, because people on an individual level are more valuable than, some sort of marketing company that has helped, people make better, ads on subways or something like that. You trust a person's face more than you trust a subway ad. You know what I mean? My name is Matt, and thank you so much for watching this video. Leave a subscribe or like if you enjoyed. Peace.